Hello, friends. Welcome to Lucifer Talks. I'm Danny, and as you know, every week I bring some special guests to you, and this is the way to share information, exchange what's happening around in Canada and in the higher education in Canada. Today is a special day in the world's largest democracy, my home country, India, I'll say. And it's a special day because the government has started the vaccination, and it's going to be one of the largest vaccination in the world. And the target for the Indian government is to give the vaccination to about 300,000 people in the very first day itself. So today I have a special guest, and he's a senior leader, Chris. Chris is the acting associate vice president enrollment at the University of Windsor. He's responsible for orchestrating the institution's enrollment activities, including supporting marketing of academic programs, recruitment, and admission of students, and the financial levers that drive enrollment. I've gone to Chris's background. He is such a dynamic leader who has done a lot of research and put into things for organizational culture influences, internationalization, and the process of integrating an international, intercultural, or global dimension into the purpose. So here we are. We are here with Chris, and Chris will be answering our questions. So Chris, welcome to Lucifer Talks, and thank you for giving us time to our audience to be able to hear from you as to what Windsor stands for.
Thanks, Danny. It's my pleasure to be with you today.
Sure. So we are going to start our question answer session, and feel free to stop me, feel free to add on, and I'll be picking up questions from live audience as well. So one of the first questions for you, Chris, is because whatever has been happening around the world, our neighbors next door, suddenly international students are worried about equity and diversity and inclusion, and they all are feeling that, is it the right time for them to travel? I have heard from some Chinese students and parents that because this COVID-19 started from China, they're afraid, should they be going out? Will the kids be safe? So what mechanism is in place at the university to overcome unconscious biases and discrimination?
Well, Danny, you raise a lot of, it's a very complex question you have with many multiple aspects to talk about. So I think first we should probably talk about, the Canadian educational system. Canada and our institutions, including the University of Windsor, I think are world known for being open and receptive to individuals from across the world. If you look at Canada as a democracy, much like some of your viewers in India and many other markets, really promotes a value of inclusivity, focused on diversification of our classrooms and experiences. And when students are thinking about coming to study in Canada, they should be thinking that they're joining a multicultural community ourselves. Windsor, for example, is one of Canada's fourth most diverse populations in all of Canada. We are geographically located right on the border between Canada and the US, and lots of access to many areas as well. So when we're thinking about, living and studying in Canada, when I talk to parents or prospective students, we really talk about how students can feel safe. They feel accepted. They feel that they can be who they are at any point in time. And that is within a classroom environment, when interacting with faculty or with colleagues or people on the street. That is the kind of Canadian culture. And I think what we bring as a unique kind of value proposition to prospective students is that. And for example, if they elect to settle in Canada, they'll find that it's an accepting place for them to, discover themselves and start their new life, if that's a direction in which they're looking for, Danny.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's a very, very good response. And students do have all these aspects thought out, and the parents are the ones who plan in Africa and in Asia and Middle East. And sometimes we do stress on the value of counselors, and it depends on the market where the students are coming from, depends on the cultural background. So how many international students have been recruited by the university, and where do most of your students come from?
Well, Danny, we have a rich history of being a destination of choice for international students. Currently, about 25 to 26% of our student population is international. So that's about, we're looking about 4,000 to 5,000 international students, with a total population about 17,000 in total there. Students are coming for academic programs for a variety of disciplines, either undergraduate or graduate. And the mixture of where students are originating from, a large number, as you know, it's not just unique to, I think, Windsor. A large number of students come from India, come from Asia, China specifically. But we have deep roots in Nigeria and long partnerships and in Pakistan, Bangladesh, and many other countries where we have large diasporas of students. So, for example, in downtown Windsor, there is a clock on one of our main streets. And it's actually a clock that was donated by a Bangladesh community here as well. So strong ties from many different regions. And international or not, if you look in a classroom, it's actually really hard to tell where students come from because of the multicultural nature of what Windsor is. It's a very vibrant community.
So my take from what you just said is that the students and parents around the world, they feel comfortable and they feel happy that they got an opportunity to study at the university. That's why you have 25, 26% of international students coming to Windsor. So it seems like it's a safe place, and multiculturalism is what Canada is all about. Our Bangladeshi students also watch this show, and from Dhaka, from Chittagong. So this goes around in many other places. Just one question popped up, and it's about someone is asking that, is it safe for a LGBT community to study here? And in some countries, even in Africa, in Asia, Middle East, even today, students are unable to tell to their parents what their sexual orientation is. They're unable to share these things, but they're looking for places where it would be easy for them to be who they are. And what would you say to this student?
Well, I think the Canadian university experience, not only for international students, but domestic students, is a place for them to explore who they are themselves. It doesn't matter about if they're coming from, across the world or coming from up the street. I think the university culture and experience is really built on helping students explore academically, but also help in their own development and express who they want to be and who they are. And so when it comes from an institutional standpoint, and I think it goes back to the Canadian, framework and culture, we are an accepting community. Even the idea of creating and having specific programming to support individuals in their sexual orientation and their identity. We have a reputation as being a country and an institution that's committed to upholding and respecting human rights. And I think that's something that students and alumni and faculty and staff are really proud of. Be it LGBTQ populations and their work in, the Faculty of Science, for example, is doing some great work. There, we were one of Canada's first institutions to hold a conference specifically on LGBTQ in science, and that's a fantastic thing. So I think even if you're looking on our campus, the idea of recognizing in symbols and attributes, rainbow crosswalks, identifying, not only the LGBTQ populations, but Indigenous, Black, people of color. All of that is a part of our rich heritage and our embracing culture.
Yeah, this is what parents want to know, and this is what a lot of students want to know. Because, cultural differences around the world, sometimes parents are aware of the orientation of their child, but because of the surroundings where they are, they're not openly accepting the fact that they have a kid at home who has a different lifestyle or who probably doesn't want to be part of the bigger group but has his own identity. It's always good to know that students they feel comfortable by being in Canada and the universities remain safer space. Chris, students when they come and even parents, they often look at the leaders at institutions. So you are a leader at University of Windsor. And when students look at the leaders, they want to know what they have done, what they have studied. So I was reading a little bit, and I see that you've studied at UNBC, your bachelor's degree, and you've done your master's in molecular biology, then an MBA, and I believe a PhD recently from University of Calgary. Would it be
Correct.
possible for you to tell a bit about your own academic journey? Did you plan that this is what you wanted to be, or things have happened along the line?
Well, Danny, I really don't know anyone that has planned to become a university administrator. I think that's the nature, but it goes back to an earlier comment about what the university experience is all about. It's about exploring your own interests. I started my academic journey. I'm from Alberta originally. I started my journey at the University of Calgary, which is, a world-renowned institution. It's my hometown. But it's a huge institution. I think the student population now is probably about 30,000 people. And when I started my undergraduate experience, I was just a number. And, I don't think the faculty members I don't think they knew me or I didn't have that feeling. And I had a friend that was studying at the University of Northern British Columbia, a relatively new institution at the time. We're talking like 25 years ago, a relatively new institution at the time. And she was having a great time, went to visit, and I kind of felt in love with the idea of being recognized and known by my faculty and building that relationship. And one thing leads to another, and being engaged in undergraduate research, I kind of got, pulled up into the idea of doing research and all of that. And that led to my master's and my graduate work and eventually moving to Windsor and working under a Canada Research Chair and getting settled in here. So it all happens through exploration of, as part of the experience. But, the thing I've appreciated now working and studying at multiple institutions is it has made me appreciate some of the differences between our institutions. That same drive for undergraduate research engagement, I see at Windsor. We have, probably about, I think it's nearly over 60% of our undergraduate students in science, for example, are engaged in undergraduate research and experiential learning and those type of elements. And that's what I appreciated when I went to UNBC to do my undergraduate. So I see connections, and it's the things as a leader at the institution that I continue to support. I was involved in leading experiential learning, the idea of learning through doing. And for international students, a lot of them want a Canadian experience. They're not coming to Canada just to sit in a Canadian classroom. They're coming to Canada because they want to make friends with Canadians. They want to work in a Canadian employer. They want to explore, the country. And I think that's why, Windsor, we're really well positioned for that. The ability, not only from the programming side, but the idea of the supports and the interaction and the mentorship has really made it a positive experience. And so when they graduate, students can walk away saying, like, I enjoyed it. And that's really what makes me happy as a leader. Academically, I'm happy that they got a lot out of it educationally. But that feeling of satisfaction and we are their first kind of launching place to their Canadian experience, I think is a tremendous sense of pride for myself. It's what makes me, kind of Windsor proud as well.
Mm-hmm. So this is what students feel, and when they're exploring about the programs, they come with an open mind, right? Those who come with an open mind, they succeed far better than those who come with a very fixated opinion of what they want to do, right? sometimes students, when they take admission in a bachelor's program, they're like, this is the program I want to do. I want to graduate from the program. But when they enter a university, things change, and they might change the program. They might not want to continue the program they took admission in, but they found something else of interest. So experiential learning plays a major role in that as well. What services are provided to the students and how they feel at that particular university or college while they're there. And it's kind of a hand-holding task for a lot of these international students because they're in a new area. And what you just said, that not being a number is something which a lot of international students like. On the same side, students from certain cultures, when they come to Canada, and when they see that they're expected to take participation, they have to participate in the class or they have to ask questions, they are taken back by that can I really do that? Can I call my professor with their first name and ask sharp questions? This is what Canada offers, or the Western education offers to a lot of international students. If you have traveled to Africa, even today, people will call you sir, or they'll call others madam, be it Asia and all. So it takes some time for them to understand how to be part of this society and grow with it. Cooperative education and internships, they attract a lot of international students. And I understand that you do offer a lot of co-op programs. So if off your head, you know, what's the average salary received by an international student in a co-op? That's something they would be interested to know.
Okay. So in regards to cooperative education, student co-op is just one form of experiential learning. Of course, it's one of the most well-known, at least in the Canadian context. And so we have cooperative education programs in the Faculty of Science, in the Faculty of Engineering, and business specifically, and also human kinetics. And so these students, as part of their academic experience, are required to complete at minimum 3 placements during their time. And the salary in which students are getting is commensurate to their experience. So a first-year student typically may not get paid as much as a fourth-year student. But for example, in engineering, students at the completion of a co-op placement, which typically is about approximately 4 months, you know, they're bringing in approximately anywhere from $14,000 to $20,000 in that period of time, depending on the employer. So we have students in our cooperative education program that work for BlackBerry, you know, and they're getting a great wage for that period of time. Same thing as engineering; they're working in the automotive industry as well. Our industry partners value the contributions of students. I think experiential learning and cooperative education, sometimes I think it's a two-way process. Students gain experience by working, but also the employer gets a value out of it. That's new ideas and new perspectives. International students, for example, if we look at, they're bringing a new viewpoint, a new perspective to places of employment. And as we continue to globalize and become more interconnected, these employers are valuing that. They want to learn how to adapt to different markets as well. And mostly in the engineering space, where product design and development is happening 24/7, with projects being handed off to multinational teams, our international students that are participating in co-op or internships, that they are valued, and I think they see that through their salary that they're getting to help to support that. And at the end of the day, our co-op employers are the ones that are also hiring students after they graduate. So it provides them a safe place to experience the differences in the Canadian workplace, because we have to recognize that as well. The culture, as you mentioned, in the classroom is different. It's also different in the workplace in Canada. And so students get the opportunity to explore that in a safe way. also supported by the university. These individuals are doing their placement, they're in a workplace, but they're also supported by career development professionals. They're helping them guide through their experiences. It's not just a paycheck. It's meant to be a learning opportunity as well. And I think sometimes students forget about that. They think about it as a great way to support their education, but at the end of the day, they're learning there as well. It's usually afterwards when we ask them, how do they like their experience? They're like, I learned so much more than the salary I got. And that's the value of it. And that's why it's powerful.
Chris, you've raised a very, very valid point. And what a lot of international students, they should keep in mind is that through these co-op placements and learning experiences, the first step is to go explore, learn what you can from the work and from the colleagues who are already been working in those jobs and positions, have those valuable experience. And later on, depending on your ability, you'll be paid whatever you deserve. Plus, if you outshine at a co-op, there is a possibility that the employer might say, I would like to hire this person after completion of the program, right? And it's an opportunity for the students to grow themselves, be a better person, and develop those skills.
Well, absolutely. And I think a lot of international students and even domestic students, the education is just one part of it. Learning from recognized faculty members in their discipline and that research, is one element. But I know a lot of students have big dreams. They want to work in Canada after their studies. They want to potentially find a pathway to permanent residency. And they want to stay connected to our institution as an alumni, because that's also a great networking opportunity as well. And I think Canada and our institutions are greatly positioned to be able to support much more, I think, sometimes if we compare to other countries. As well. Canada wants international students to come to the country. We want them to stay. We want them to get employed and contribute back, because we need their ideas to be able to move our economy forward, especially in this kind of, let's say, post-COVID times, because I'm taking a positive look out on life that we're moving past that. If Canada's economy is going to move forward, we need great ideas from brilliant individuals. And a lot of those are our international students that are coming with brilliant passions that we can benefit from too. So we want them to stay. That's why, international students can stay up to 3 years under a postgraduate work permit. And they also can go back home to their home country afterwards. That's something powerful. I know, for example, a lot of our Chinese students, they appreciate the education. They want to stay in Canada for sometimes just a short period of time to get an experience. And then they go back home, and the credentials that they bring and the experience is a powerful aspect for them to be able to secure a great position. And that's really valuable. So it depends on the passion and it depends on the student, but there's always a great path.
Totally. And you touched on the point that Canada wants these international students and Canada wants quality to stay here. That's why recently the immigration minister announced, and the announcement was that any international student who's currently in Canada on a postgraduate work permit, and if their postgraduate work permit is expiring, they're giving them an extra 18 months so that they can get that Canadian experience under the belt and be eligible for permanent residence, which will help about 52,000 international students. So that's for Canada. And I understand what you were saying about the Chinese students, because the culture and the expectation is to drive China ahead as well. I had the opportunity of working in China in the past, and I worked for Ontario Community College, which had a partnership in China. I stayed there for a year or so, and I taught there in that particular program. And I've seen the vision of the Chinese parents, the administrators, and students. And I can say a lot of my students are now settled here in Canada, Australia, and UK, and they are all doing really well. Some of them are moving back to China as well to run the family businesses and grow, because they take the technology, they take the experience from Canada to back home to China, and then they train their people, and they're able to contribute in the China's economy. So education from around the world, no matter Canada or US, wherever you get educated from, will help an individual to grow and will help economies irrespective of the cultures or the style of governmental functioning. So this is what students and parents always think about. A question came up that what makes University of Windsor a desirable place of learning? Can you please touch upon the city of Windsor as a place to call it home by international students?
Sure. So I think it goes to an idea of this. I think it's a mixture of aspects, and it depends on, I think, the students themselves. So I think when it comes to the idea of studying in Windsor, obviously it goes back to the academic programs. The programs that we offer, and because of the nature of the institution, we've been around for a long time. The institution has grounded in Windsor in the mid 1800s, so 150 years plus more of experience. Formerly became a university in the 60s as well, but now having over 200 different academic programs, I think students find Windsor a great place because of the diversity, that comprehensive nature of the institution. Mostly, we are an institution that has a lot of focus in professional programs. I think that really resonates with parents and students as well. The demands for exploring careers in business and engineering and nursing and science and that kind of STEM, and now kind of the STEAM section with the arts and humanities as well. We have a broad selection of programming that makes us a great option for individuals. Because as you mentioned before, they may start in one route, but they want to explore other things along the journey. And Windsor has that opportunity as well. And we make that relatively easy. When it comes to the city itself, I think there is a perception, and it's a valid one, about what weather is like in Canada, right? When I've been on the road before, mostly in countries that are, probably closer to the equator, when I say, come study in Canada, everyone thinks, cold, right? And Windsor is Canada's southernmost city. And so that we're the same latitude as Northern California and Spain. The weather here is, I personally believe, is much more enjoyable all year round than some other places in Canada as well. So I think that's a great destination. As I mentioned earlier, we're right on the border with the US. And that's a great opportunity, maybe not right now, but it's still a great opportunity for students to be able to explore. It's a jumping off place, within just a few hours is I think now the numbers are probably 15 million people are around us just within a few hours. A great jumping off point to explore Toronto and explore Chicago and Detroit and some great centers in the US as well after COVID too. So that's one aspect. It being a smaller town, I think makes people feel safe, easy to walk around, bike, exercise, and all those elements. Big cities in Canada and other countries sometimes have big city problems, and Windsor does not necessarily have that. So that parents like that, and I think students like that feeling of safety too. And I think the last point is that Windsor it's a very cost-effective city to study in, not only from our standpoint, from a tuition element compared to other institutions, but the cost of living. Students can save nearly half the amount living in Windsor, you're talking rent, food, accommodation piece, than living in Toronto. And so sometimes when I'm meeting students out on the road, I bring that up and I say, well, once you're done school, use the money you saved in your apartment or in all of that, use that to explore Canada, to move to Toronto for employment or things like that. Why not save the money and live in a city that's welcoming and warm and less expensive?
Yep. Very well touched. International students and parents are sometimes looking at the cost and They try to figure out that will I be saving money on rent and accommodation, and Windsor for sure is a place. Many international students. I have met with some families from Africa where just after landing in Canada, in a couple of months, the families are interested in buying up property as well. And
Mhm.
we would like our kid to stay in our own house, and I might stay, the mother might stay with the child for 6 months to see if everything is fine. And keeping that in mind, Windsor is still affordable. You can still have something for yourself and buy that particular house for your own comfort and stay the way you want in Windsor. And you said you're closer to the point. It's Point Pelee, right? Which is closer to Windsor. Is
Yeah,
it?
Point Pelee is one of our national parks. That's the southernmost point of all of Canada. Is only located about 40 minutes from my home and about the same distance from the university as well. Right out on the lake.
Right. It's a very beautiful location. I've been there, and I'll recommend students that they should explore that area and see the beauty of that particular side. Um, Students often ask about student exchange options at the university. They're like, does this university have any partnerships where I can go overseas for a term or two and then go
Mhm.
back to Windsor? Do you have such partnerships in place?
Absolutely. Going back to kind of my earlier comment about what experiential learning is all about, exploring new cultures through study abroad, exchange is definitely an option at the institution. Our exchange office oversees those placements, be it individuals wanting to study in the U.S., within Europe, or many other countries. We have a huge selection of different nations in which individuals can study at, all with well-respected institutions that we've built relationships with over time. We accept their students, and I think our exchange office takes great care of them. And in exchange, their offices have do a tremendous job taking care of Windsor students abroad, including they've had some great experiences in Germany and in Japan, and all across Europe as well too. So definitely that's an option for both domestic students, but also international students as well.
Great. I've seen a lot of students, especially from China, when they come over to Canadian institutions, they still want to go and have an experience in a Chinese university like Renmin University or Beijing University because it's some kind of prestige, right, for the family. That, okay, I wasn't able to get into this university directly, but with my Canadian institution, I was able to get a semester experience in this prestige university in China. So that is something which I have learned, and it's good for students to explore all these possibilities, travel to Japan, Eastern Europe, or
Mhm.
to Caribbean, so that they can enhance their understanding and world vision of what it is and how things are done in those countries as well. These days, we all have been working from home. Kids have been studying from home, and all that exposure to internet and whatnot. Some mental health and addiction issues have risen a little bit, and they have a devastating impact on an individual and the society. So, what support systems are available for the students at the university? Because you're away from home, from family, this might be your first experience staying away from your loved ones. And when you're at the institution, what support services do they have? Because privacy is also an issue. I can give an example. Like in Singapore, if you are from Singapore, and even the counselors and parents know that the student has some special needs, maybe dyslexia or some other stuff, they can never write that down on paper, because if it's done, then the student loses chance of getting into university. But that also means that particular individual has never got any assistance in home country. So when they are here, what do they expect? And can they get something from the university?
Well, Danny, I think going back to one of my earlier comments, they can expect to feel supported. At the end of the day, the institution's here to support them. We have a wellness outreach office that includes everything from psychological support to mental health support. in regards to doctors and nurses, all on campus. Even in a COVID world where we're working remotely, a lot of the services have transitioned to be delivered online in a confidential manner as well. International students have, their stressors are different. The homesickness, settling in, those acculturation elements. So being able to access supports 24/7 now, being able to connect with mental health practitioners on their phone, be able to chat with them in real time, also be able to have conversations with them in their own language, because sometimes language is a barrier to be able to express what's going on with them. So that's all available, 24/7 talk and text counseling and wellness groups as well. So I think students will find themselves, very well taken care of at the institution, to be able to give them coping strategies, resources, mental health tips, and if necessary, even referral to other practitioners outside the institution within our own Canadian or Ontario healthcare system.
So I will say that to the parents and the students also, that while you are in Canada at University of Windsor, you should feel that this is the place where the university has all mechanisms where they'll support you, and they are here to hold your hand and help you through tough times. You'll have a good experience, and only thing you will have to do is reach out when you need any support. So if you have any issue, you need to come out and talk to them, share your pain, and then someone will guide you to a better environment, a better support system for you. Athletics, intramurals, clubs, they provide students with an opportunity of performing, competing, and socializing. What does U Windsor offer to international students? Do they have any international games also available at Windsor?
So our International Student Center is kind of the key hub on campus for supporting international students, including connecting them with clubs, societies, and activities on campus. We have intramurals, we have varsity athletics as well. We are currently undertaking a huge campus transformation with our new Lancer Sport and Recreation Center, which is scheduled to come online next year. It's under construction, so encourage students to take a look at it. It's being built right now, so take a look at it. There's a live webcam to be able to show through that as well. So there's lots of activities to be able to help build connection, including cricket and lots of other activities that are, I think, culturally relevant to some of our international students as well. And it doesn't even matter, we have a lot of students that live on campus. And so there's even those kind of activities and connections there through our residents as well.
Great. Because a lot of students from the Commonwealth countries, British gave them the wonderful game of cricket, right? And irrespective of the culture and the language, when they're on the pitch, they know this is the bat and that's the ball, and I know the game. So students from Kenya to West Indies to Bangladesh, Pakistan, or India, UK, Australia, they all come together, and it excites them, and they remain in touch with the game they have grown up with. So
absolutely.
University has all those facilities for the students. So entrepreneurial skills are also sought after. Not every student is seeking to be employed. A lot of them come from business backgrounds, and some of them are interested in developing some businesses, incubation and all. So entrepreneurial skills, as I said, are sought, and they're sought after for becoming a job creator rather than a job seeker. That helps the economy. Could you tell us a bit about the Entrepreneurship, Practice and Innovation Center, the EPIC Center at the university?
Oh, absolutely. So Epicenter, which is the Entrepreneurship, Practice and Innovation Center, is an on-campus hub for entrepreneurial activities. That is not only a space, but resources and supports and programming to help budding entrepreneurs that have a great idea be able to get support to be able to see their dreams become a reality. be it through a workshop or maker space or access to alumni or even funding, are all opportunities within that space too. So that's located on the second floor of the Joyce Entrepreneurship Center as well. And entrepreneurship is not only occurring at the epicenter, it also happens in our faculties as well. So that kind of drive for entrepreneurship and innovative ideas is occurring in engineering and in business and in science as well. A lot of our researchers are entrepreneurs themselves and taking their ideas and taking them through patent and that whole process as well to set up startup companies as well, because it's through learning and thinking and tinkering that people actually become very successful entrepreneurs. And I think the campus and epicenter and the faculty members all really support that.
So that's something of interest for students, I believe, because not every institution is pushing on this side of experiential learning and developing, where they can go to the epicenter and explore all those ideas and put them in practice and get something out of it. So I'm sure some students would like to take benefit out of this approach which University of Windsor is offering. I know the university is known for engineering and sciences, but a lot of other programs are also offered at the U Windsor. And students need to know more about those programs, because if you're already established as an institution where they can come and do engineering, they already know. But they also want to know if at U Windsor, if I want to be a creative writer, or if I want to learn drama, or I want to go into communication, right? So what kind of programs U Windsor has where someone can actually get into theater or be a creative writer? Do you have bachelor's and master's degrees in those streams?
So Danny, as I kind of alluded to earlier, we have nearly 200 different academic programs across our faculties. And as you mentioned, the idea of arts, humanities, and social sciences is actually one of our largest faculties on campus. We've made some tremendous investments in space and facilities in dramatic arts and creative arts, including our downtown campus, which is home of our School of Social Work. Also in regards to the School of Creative Arts, be it visual arts and that whole space too. The humanities is a fascinating space for students to explore, because people often think that to get a successful job in Canada, I need to focus in science or engineering or math related disciplines. And they forget that, some of our leaders in financial sectors and tech are actually English majors, because they are the creative folks that are helping create the storylines of video games. They are the individuals that are articulate communicators that can help lead and inspire businesses. So there's a tremendous amount of opportunities for individuals to explore the humanities at Windsor as well. Psychology is one of the programs that Windsor is most well known for, not only the undergraduate, but all the way through to the PhD aspect as well. Social work is becoming incredibly popular. And if we look at our demographics, not just in Canada, but globally, we are an aging population, and there is a huge need for the helping professions, and a lot of those professions, Windsor offers programming in, and that is in the Faculty of Arts, Humanities, and Social Science, but also human kinetics as well. Windsor Law is one of Canada's most well-known law programs, also on campus there as well. So definitely a large selection of academic programs for students to explore.
Yeah. So you said law, you said psychology. A lot of programs are packaged here at the U Windsor. Students often think that, and it's a perception at many places, that if you are a brilliant student, you go to sciences. If you're not that good, then maybe you go to arts and all. And this is a perception which needs to be tinkered away and said, no. Now, I personally feel that science students, yes, you're smart, you know the stuff, but it could be easier because it's all formula based, and it would be much easier for you to succeed in that stream. But if you're getting into arts, then you have to go through all the theories and research and a lot of stuff you need to go through to understand. And it might not be as easy in comparison to mathematics. Because if you're
Danny,
yeah.
that's a great observation. Sometimes I find that the interesting thing about the arts is the talent is there. Students bring their talent forward. It's through the mentors that they make on campus that help bring out those inner talents. For example, I can't. My drawing skills are a stick figure. I can't. That's not something I can do. The math I can learn, but I don't think I will ever be able to learn that. And so it is incredibly difficult, I think, to be successful in that space. And that's why it's through mentorship and through that kind of experience, that hands-on piece, that they become so successful.
Right. That is true. I can say for myself that if you tell me to draw something, I can use a pencil and draw whatever, but the moment you give me the colors, everything disappears. So that's the kind of art I know. Psychology is a field where a lot of people are interested in, but for a lot of international students, because the way it's being taught in their home country, some people believe psychology is part of arts and some believe it's part of sciences. So when it comes to the entry requirements, a lot of international students are unable to get into the psychology program because they haven't studied mathematics or they haven't studied biology. So that's some issue which a lot of international students go through. So I believe at Windsor, you might have a B and BSc, different pathways for psychology. And if there are, that would be an opportunity for students to pursue their career in, because that's in a lot of demand, right?
Absolutely.
Great. Yeah. So parents play a major role in finalizing the university. And be it Africa, be it Middle East or Asia, kids can say that this is what they want to do unless and until a parent is satisfied that this program or this particular university is a perfect fit for their child. That international student might not be able to take a decision in moving towards the institution. So what a lot of parents are looking for engineering programs, and you said you have a lot. And what are the major engineering streams offered by the university, and how easy or difficult it might be for an international student to get admitted to those programs?
So when it comes to the streams, Windsor is a very comprehensive, broad spectrum area of engineering programming. So mechanical, civil, electrical, environmental as well. But also a whole bunch of subsections of that too. Aeronautics, for example. Mechanical engineering in automotive is really popular. Windsor is an automotive kind of hub of Canada. If you drive into Windsor, it's on our Welcome to Windsor sign, the kind of automotive capital of Canada. You know, we have production and research and development by a large number of automotive manufacturers and a lot of connections there. So a lot of students are doing work in that space too, but also in civil and environmental and electrical engineering and in computer engineering as well. Lots of options there, and students have the opportunity to be able to explore other streams as part of their start of their engineering journey. A lot of the core courses that students take at the beginning of their engineering experiences are common to allow for that exploration. You know, as you alluded to, parents sometimes are large drivers of choice. So, you know, a student may be promoted to think about going into electrical engineering, but after the end of their first semester, they actually realize that I really like mechanical engineering or mechatronics or that space as well. So that's a nice thing, is they have that ability to explore not only at the undergraduate, but also at the master's level, be it course-based programs or research-based programs as well. When it comes to acceptance, you know, I would say that Windsor is competitive. We definitely admit a large number of international students from a variety of countries. When I talk to prospective students, I basically ask, how would you define yourself? if they say, I'm a good student, I might not be the best student, but I'm a good student. And I would always say, then Windsor likely is a great place for you. Access is an important value that we hold. And we're looking for brilliant scholars and also just people with passion. And so I think that a large number of our students will always be successful and find a place. Sometimes it depends on the path they take. They may not have the grades for one program, but through our academic advising program and that we can get them there during their journey.
So you have heard about things. I have heard a lot about what international students go through. In the past, people used to say survival of the fittest is something which helps you move forward. I personally feel it's not the fittest who's going to move forward. It's the uniquest. What makes you unique, right? And it starts from the very first day you enter a classroom, to you graduate, to a job, because everyone is fit to do something or the other. But how different you are as an individual will ensure that you succeed in life, from the studies point to the work point. And I believe international students, many of them are street smart because they have done a lot of different things from home country. It's just understanding the style of Canadian education. So when they enter Canada, first semester is the toughest for most of the students, even the brightest of the bright. When they enter the first semester, they see a significant drop in their grades. And then they're afraid as to what's going to happen with them. Will they be able to pass the degree or not? And I believe that's the point where the student advisors kick in, and then they tell these students it's okay to have a drop in your grades. It's not an end of your career here. You'll have an opportunity. There are services offered at the universities. They'll help these students. I remember looking at the peer tutoring programs at the universities, where the students get free tuition from other colleagues and then they do well. So all those services, our international students should keep in mind that all these institutions are here to support them succeed, and all of these services are here for them, and they should go and try to take benefit of these services. For some students from Africa and from South America, Caribbean, even from Oriental countries, English language could be a challenge for them to succeed. I believe you have English language improvement program in place. And how long is that program for the international students? So are they expected to stay in the English course for 6 months to a year, or it works in different levels?
You alluded to that, the idea of levels, and that's exactly how our English language improvement program runs. It's a program designed to make sure students are successful in the academic context as well. So it's really meant about not only supporting English language development, but also the idea of getting them used to I would say the Canadian or Western style of teaching, and make sure that they have a good understanding so they're successful when they move into academics. And it will completely, the duration will depend on their language proficiency. We have some students that just study with us for a short period of time, be it weeks, and we have some students that are with us for nearly a year in regards to the language program. Each level is approximately 1 semester, and it really depends on where their language proficiency is. So, for example, if a student has if they take an IELTS exam and they have a 6, they likely are going to be with us for 1 semester, 5.5, likely 2 semesters. But people can move through the program faster, and they can move through the program, slower possibly as well. It really depends on them and how their skills development is going.
Great. So there is something for all the students depending on their level of English.
Mm-hmm.
So to a year, they'll be in the program. Are they able to take credit courses while they are in the English program, or they take the credit courses once they have finished their English program?
So when students are admitted into their academic program, if they don't meet our language proficiency, we provide an option for them to either provide a new score or to come early and to participate in our ELIT program, the language program.
Right.
While they're in language training, we really want them to focus on developing those skills. So we don't allow students to take 4-credit courses at that time while they're in our language program. And the reason being, Danny, is that the amount of hours that students spend doing language training is quite significant. There is not a lot of time on top of homework and practice that they're getting through that program for them to be successful in classes. And that's another reason too, is the last thing we want to do at our institution is set any student up for failure. And if they're not ready, if they're still struggling to understand faculty, their peers, because you have to remember, we do a lot of things in group work. If they're not ready, we're not going to do them any favors to allow them to start their academic journey until we know they're going to be successful. And that's why it's important for them to just focus on that piece. But even when they're done ELIT and they go into academics, we still have English language supports available. At the Leddy Library, we have programming there that helps support English language learners too. And even our International Student Center continues to do programming to help them keep up, because it's not just in the classroom that they're learning, it's also all outside the classroom too.
Yeah, that's something which international students should keep in mind. And as you are in the education sector, you know that international students from certain places are dependent on education agents. And we all value our education agents, and we consider them a strong part of our extension of recruitment. But sometimes students, when they arrive in Canada and when they enter a university, a lot of misinformation is being given to them, not by the agent who recruited them and sent to the university, but the local agents who are here in Canada around these institutions. Mm-hmm. And then they tell them, instead of spending 4 years and getting a bachelor's degree, they can join a private career college, or they can go to the community college. And that kind of misrepresentation sometimes is not in favor of students. And when you don't have the grasp of knowledge of the language in particular, you're not able to read through the legal norms and laws which are associated with the student's visa, sometimes the students fall in trap and they lose the opportunity to get the degree, and then they repent. And I'm sure this happens at Windsor also. It does happen at most of the institution, but it's up to the student, I will say, and the parents. Always go and talk to the official representative at the university. When any education agent approaches them with any idea, it's always good to ask that agent if that agent is actually authorized by X institution or not. So before taking a decision of leaving the program, going to a shortcut way of success, it will always be in favor of the students to reach out to people who actually are responsible for helping them succeed. So I'm sure at Windsor also, the student services department takes care of the students and guides them through, because this is what is required out of the departments. Yep.
No, Dan, you're right. And when it comes to, not only prospective students thinking of coming to Canada, it's really important for them to work through a reputable partner. At Windsor, we publish who we work with and our vetting process to make sure that they are the right people. We also have in-country representatives globally that work for us, and just us, and they're trained and part of our team, and they're a great source of information too. And you mentioned student services as one group on campus to support. The one team that I think often international students use, and I think it's great, is our career development team. Because sometimes you're right, students will hear about, I guess you could say, tricks or shortcuts. but they don't understand what the implications of that may be. And so I always encourage them to think about connecting with our career practitioners to learn about that and recognize what you may be doing, which could be closing a door to a fantastic opportunity just because they want satisfaction now versus the idea of what their future may behold to them afterwards.
Totally. That's what they need to keep in mind. Postgraduate certificates, diploma programs are very popular in certain markets, South America per se, or some of the other Asian countries as well, because not every student wants to get into a 4-year undergrad or a 2-year master's. Maybe some of them are looking at shorter programs. Either they don't have the grades or they don't have the money to pay for. So do you have such postgraduate diplomas or certificates offered by the university?
So Windsor has been offering professional or course-based master's programs actually for quite a long period of time. And while they're not a postgraduate certificate, we intentionally designed them both academically and for our international students to be able to allow them to complete the degree in a shorter amount of time in 4 semesters with multiple intakes. And the reason why we elected to go down creating graduate programs versus postgraduate certificates is really in response to our employer connections. A master's degree will command a larger wage here in Canada and also makes our students more marketable. And that's why that's where we've had tremendous value and been recognized by that. A large number of our students are enrolled in those programs and are able to market themselves successfully after completing that to find a job and stay in Canada or return back home. The postgraduate certificates, they serve a specific purpose. You're correct. A lot of individuals come because they think it's less expensive. Correct. Shorter duration. Correct. But with that, the opportunity to stay in Canada afterwards, also shorter, and your probability to secure a position at a very marketable and attractive rate is also hamstringed quite significantly too. So it goes back to this kind of return on investment aspect. If students are looking for a strong return on their investment and their parents, we have to be honest that a lot of students are self-funded and their monies are coming through their parents. That's a really important element. I think the last thing any parent wants is to make a large investment in their son or daughter's education and then realize that they aren't able to market themselves to be successful. But if they would have taken a master's program, for example, that opens so many more doors.
Great. For the master's programs, Chris, if someone already has done a master's from any home country and they have 2-3 years of work experience, are they still able to apply for master's program at U Windsor? That's first part of the question. And
Sure.
Second is, what is the turnaround time for U Windsor for admitting people for the master's program? Because a lot of Canadian institutions are considered slow and notorious when it comes to grad study program admissions because they work at a turtle space. And international students, they tend to accept offer from any institution, whoever gives them the first offer. So how does U Windsor stand in between all of that?
Sure. So the first question, or the first part of your question about eligibility, if a student has a master's degree in the same discipline, and we're talking about exactly the same discipline, we typically would not admit them. And the reasons is we are unsure what they would get more out of the educational experience that they already have. If I have a master's degree in accountancy and I'm taking a master's degree in accountancy here at Windsor, International Accounting Finance, we just kind of question that about you're not going to get that much more out of it, I think. So therefore, that's restrictive. But our academic programs are a lot of them are quite unique. There's very few institutions globally that offer a master's, for example, in data analytics. And so therefore, there's not many students that have that. If they have an MBA, that's a different graduate degree. For example, I have 2 master's degrees. That doesn't mean that you can't have more than one. And in some markets, individuals may have only done a 3-year undergraduate degree. And therefore, to become eligible for a graduate program, they need 16 years of study in total. So it's logical for them to have started an MBA, even did 1 year, or completing it all before going into business, for example. When it comes to processing time, it always depends on the program and the student themselves. I always say if a student does their full application, they work through an in-country representative or an agent, and they make sure that it's perfect at the beginning. The processing time for our course-based programs can be approximately 3 to 4 weeks. Research-based programs, very different. And that's just the nature of research. And that's why a lot of our international students will elect to go for a course-based program and elect then to transfer once they're here already into potentially a research-based program. It happens very often in engineering. They start at course-based, they do very well academically, they meet a great faculty member that has a research interest of theirs, and then they move into a research-based program as well. Versus applying directly, sometimes it takes a long time because faculty members have to adjudicate their whole pool. Do they have space in their research lab? Do they have funding to be able to provide these students, et cetera? It gets much more complex, so therefore it goes slower.
Mm-hmm. So students, if they're listening to this, if you want master's program, be sure that you have done the application in the right way, and I sat down with the agent or the official representative, and they can tell you how to apply. For the research programs, they should be prepared. There could be delays because of different reasons. And at universities, researchers, professors, they want to see what value this international student is going to contribute in the program. And that's how, and due to that particular reason, it can delay. Now we're going to wrap up. And the last question, which is a very vital question, is all around money. So the average tuition fee and what kind of scholarships are available for international students?
So at the undergraduate level, the average tuition fee would be approximately about $24,000 Canadian per year. At the graduate level, depends on the academic program. Our course-based programs from beginning to end, all 4 semesters, so kind of you can think of it as a program fee, can range about 26,000 upwards to in about 30,000 as well. And if you compared, for example, our master management program to other management programs in Ontario and in Canada, I think international students will find it very competitive. As I mentioned before, Windsor is about access, quality, and affordability. And I think if you look at our tuition rates compared to peers, we definitely are very, very good there. When it comes to scholarships at the undergraduate level, sometimes when I've been traveling abroad, students ask, well, I'm on, I play cricket and I volunteer and I do all these things. One of the main things we look at incoming students is them academically. And the reason being is we can assess academics better than we can assess contributions to many other elements. So we have a large number of scholarships that are all based on their class 10, class 11, class 12 grades. And so students can receive up to $16,000 in our entrance scholarships. And that's on top of other programs. That's just based on their grades. Then they can still apply for other awards. We give out $12 million of scholarships every year to our students. So there's lots of opportunities. And on top of the grade-based scholarships, there's many other opportunities for those individuals. They're also involved in Rotary and in other activities too. So lots of opportunities for them to be able to apply as well. On the research side, faculty members provide financial support on top of research assistantship and graduate assistantships as well. So there's lots of great opportunities for students that have outstanding research potential and come with strong academic background.
Great, Chris. Thank you for providing this information. And I'm sure our international students and parents would be really happy to know that there is a lot of scholarship money available at the university. depending upon the students' caliber and what they intend to do, they might be able to get the funding for them. And thanks for giving time for this live session. And it was very valuable. And I believe our students have found this very interesting, and they'll be able to connect with you, Windsor, and reach out to the university and look at it for their future needs. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks, Danny.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.